Good morning, Sheila. How are you?
Good morning, Wayne. I'm excellent. How are you today?
I am excellent too. Thank you for asking.
Great.
And welcome everyone to 27 Minutes with Sheila and Wayne, where we explore the fascinating world of verbs and their impact on our daily lives. Join us each week as we delve into the different ways verbs shape our language and influence our activities, as we attempt to make a positive difference in our world, one verb at a time. And Sheila, this is episode number 122. And what is our verb for today?
Today's verb is to share.
To share. Ha!
Yes.
And wow, to share. Huh.
Yes. I have a trivia question to start us out with, and I believe you do as well.
I do, yes. And what is your trivia question?
Then what on foodnetwork.com is the number one shared recipe?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Okay.
And my question is, what is on the other side of the thin line of sharing successes?
Ooh.
Ooh, yes. All
Okay.
right. So I can't wait to hear about that number one recipe.
And I want to learn more about that thin line. So,
And how can our listeners find you and comment?
well, thank you for asking. Zeke and Sheila at yahoo.com is my email address. Zeke, of course, is my golden retriever.
And you can find me at Wayne at mindsyncing.com. That's MINDSYNCING.com. All compliments go to, and comments of that positive nature go to Sheila. All complaints about, oh, we don't like what you guys are doing, go to Wayne at
Not
mindsyncing.com.
true.
Yes.
All
And
right.
and okay. Now I know we typically go with definitions, but I heard you in the preview. You were really excited, or not so much.
Love this word. Yes. Immediately
Really?
loved it. Didn't know how I was going to narrow it down, but
Huh.
figured it out.
Okay. And what are your definitions? I know you have some.
I have one to have a portion of something with another or others.
Oh, okay. And I have one, two, three, four. I have five.
All right.
Wow. My first one is to have or use something at the same time as someone else. The next definition of share that I have is to divide food, money, goods, etc., and give part of it to someone else. The third
Yes.
one I have is to tell someone else about your thoughts, feelings, or ideas. The next one was to put something on a social media website so that other people can see
Mm-hmm.
it,
Mm-hmm.
or to let other people see something that someone else has put on a website.
Good.
And my last one, to partake of, use, experience, occupy, or enjoy with others. And I'm with you. I was kind of I was hesitant with share. I'm like, oh, share. Okay, yeah. And I realized I was more excited about share than I have been in a few of the verbs we've had in the
Oh,
past, and I don't know why.
okay.
But when I went into started the research, I found out why, and I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's
Okay.
jump
So
into it.
well, let's jump into it. Obviously, I looked at it. I did my two sides. I did personal, professional, and
Okay.
as I read many articles, my goodness, and there were so many in psychology today. There were so many on Forbes.
Yes.
I found a few on HBR, Harvard Business Review,
Oh,
and
I was,
I picked two, one one from HBR and one from Forbes,
mm,
and I said, huh, okay. And so I kind of converged both of those. Um, but on the personal and professional side, I came up with a list that I think we could have on both of those. And I'll just go through that list pretty quickly here, if you
okay.
don't mind.
Sure.
One is to share a vision. Wow. One is to share good news. Another one is to share bad news,
Mm,
to share a meal, to share success, to share failure, to share kindness, to share understanding, to share an idea, which is different from a vision,
mm.
and to share a solution. And I thought, as I went through all of those and I started reading some of the articles I was reading, I saw many of those kinds of concepts in the articles. So I'm excited to kind of share with everyone today
All right.
my articles that I have. How about you? Where did you go? What's on your list? Any quotes today?
Yes, and I'm going to weave the quotes in what we're talking about. So I'll start with this one. As I was looking up quotes, so many of them had to do with something you've already referenced, which is sharing food with others or
Ooh.
sharing meals or talking over food. So the first three I got are MFK Fisher. Sharing food with another human being is an intimate act that should not be indulged in lightly.
Ooh.
Maya Angelou said, I'm just someone who likes cooking and for whom sharing food is a form of expression. And Zach Posen said, I'm not a chef, but I'm passionate about food, the tradition of it, cooking it and sharing it. So I read on livelifegetactive.com, which is an Australian health promotion charity helping to address obesity, diabetes, and mental health issues, talking about why sharing meals with others improves health and happiness. And
Huh.
this is on their blog. It's an interesting website if you are interested in checking that out. Number one, of course, it delivers nutrients, but the healthiest and long-lived communities have in common enjoying food together with family and friends. And the more people share their meal times with others, the more likely they are to feel happy and content with their lives. So, our nephew lived with us for a period of time during COVID, and at our last dinner before he went back home, he said, "This is what I've enjoyed the most." And I thought that he was pointing at his plate, and I thought, "This recipe, this," and he said, "No, no, eating dinner with each other and telling each other about our day." Fred and I were a little shamed into doing that more often after he left because normally our dinner is in front of the television screen. But okay, true confessions here.
Okay, but you're sharing it with the televised world.
Well, well, we are
With
not sharing our dinner with the dog, but we're sharing dinner time with the
time
dog.
with the dog. Okay. All right. Now, does Zeke share with you guys as well?
He shares time, but not food from our
Dinner.
plates.
Okay.
Yes, yes,
Yes. All right. And as I looked at this word,
yes.
I said, wow, okay, share, share, share. And I went to the internet. Obviously, that's one of the first places I go.
Hmm.
And all of these things came up with stocks and bonds and
Oh,
shares. I'm like,
right.
no, 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 that's a
Nouns.
noun. That's a noun.
Right,
I don't want nouns. I want verbs.
right.
And so then I got into the video. I'm sorry, the social media kind of mode,
Right.
and
Yeah, yeah.
it went down to sharing links and sharing, posts and sharing this and sharing your vacation with others. And I thought, wow, okay, so what is this person eating for lunch and what did they have for dinner? Oh, and this is also what they had when they got sick. Okay, fine. So I'm like, okay, that's not the sharing I'm looking for. And then I stumbled upon a couple of articles and I said, let me read these. And one of them was 8 ways leaders can encourage employees to share more ideas.
Perfect.
And I thought, oh, all right, let me read this one because this one sounds like this is the one I want. And as I read it, I came to realize, yeah, this is the one I wanted. And because, wow, it was just so cool. And here's one of the thoughts, and this is from the Forbes website. And this is from their council post. So they have 8 members, and each member had a point that they wanted to say.
Hmm.
And the summary was it's important for leaders to know that when it comes to teams, just because the weekly team meetings are quiet or the suggestion box hasn't seen a valid recommendation or criticism in a while, doesn't mean no one has anything to say.
Hmm.
In fact, they said, more often than not, employees have thoughts, suggestions, and criticisms to offer, but they don't share because they're not sure how leaders will respond if they do.
Mm.
And I thought, okay, here we go. Now they're going into leaders, and now we're talking about different kinds and types of leaders. And I read other articles on that specific or specificity, if you will, of
Hmm.
the types and whatnot. And so I started thinking, okay, what kind of types of leaders did I ever work with that kind of had the sharing or not sharing concept? And as I went down and made my list, I'm thinking, wow, I didn't realize. But what I did realize, much like your nephew did,
Mhm.
um, I enjoyed more leaders that listened to our ideas and thoughts, no matter how stupid they were, or just very genuine. And wow, that's something to think about. I enjoyed working with them or for them much more than I did those that shut us out,
Okay.
because I said, wow, those that are shutting us out, they just want us to come, punch the clock, do our job, and leave.
Mhm.
And I thought, isn't doing my job also making recommendations, helping with solutions?
Mhm.
And and so this article really shined for me. And I'll stop filibustering here. But and I'll go to you if you want to, or I can kind of start with one of the eight things that leaders can encourage, or ways that leaders can encourage employees to share more ideas.
Well, let's hear that first thing.
Okay, the first one was to make it a point to really listen to employees.
Mm.
And it says, be a better listener. When your employees do speak up, let them clearly and completely deliver their message. I I should take a hint on that, because my wife always said, "May I finish?"
How kind of her to put it that way.
Yeah, yes. And so anyway, and then double back to make sure that you heard them correctly. So proceed from there. When your staff sees that you are an empathetic listener, they will more than likely speak up more often. And I have found that to be absolutely more true.
Mm.
And people are proud of their ideas, and they're proud of what they think are good ideas, because there are good and there are not so good ideas out there. But as I have seen and witnessed myself, and I'm sure you can say the same thing. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when people listened to you and said, "Ah, well, let's explore that," you kind of get excited and you
Yes, you
feel more
do.
fulfilled, right?
I do.
Okay. So that was my first one. And you asked me to give the first one, so that's the first one.
Okay.
Okay. What do you have for us?
The first of these two side by side topics is sharing pain with each other, sharing sorrows. Uh,
Okay.
Jerry Cantrell, who's a musician, said part of the healing process is sharing with other people who care.
Hmm.
And so then I thought, well, what does it mean to share someone's pain? Because sometimes when someone has bad news, it's hard to think of what to say to comfort them. So basically, it's just acknowledging that you understand that they're suffering and you offer your support. Maybe it's a hug. Maybe it's, I remember you saying one time you called someone and called them back again and said, no, I really mean it. I'm here
Yes.
for you. Um, so comforting someone who's experiencing and acknowledging you understand, not you don't understand, uh, you don't feel their pain. You haven't been in their shoes, but you understand they are suffering. So the flip side of that is sharing your suffering, which is very difficult for a lot of people too in our culture. And you have to open the door to receive the support and love and healing. And it
Yes.
helps you overcome your circumstances. So
Yes.
Rita Bashan said, even if people don't have answers for you, it is ultimately a relief to share. You are not alone. And the Journal of Psychological Science in 2016 summarized some studies saying that participants who faced discomfort together, this is a good one. Participants who faced discomfort together reported feeling greater feelings of trust and connectedness. So
Mm.
basically, this was a team exercise, either couples or groups. After they had them experience pain by, say, dipping their hands in ice water together, or
Ooh.
squatting against a wall together, or eating hot chili peppers together. And what they found was that they then reported that having gone through that experience made them feel more psychologically in tune with each other, and they were more cooperative on exercises. Knowing that you're not alone in your pain is actually a very healing experience. So I thought
Mm.
that was fun to mention.
that that drives me back to basic training when all of us were in pain.
Exactly, exactly. Actually, one of the quotes in the article was from a commander at West Point who said, we're a pack, we're a team. We're out here doing this together. There's more lifting each other up, and also I thought, well, say you and your spouse are having marital difficulties. Well, just go dip your hand in some ice water together and have a conversation afterwards. See if it doesn't improve your communication. That's just a proposal for another experiment.
Okay, all right. I might have to try that one day.
Yeah. Talk her into it. Yeah. Honestly, it's really going to be good for us.
Yes. Okay. Hey, my number two, if I may,
Please.
8 ways that leaders can encourage employees to share more ideas. Number two, be open by example. And I had to think about that. Be open by example. And as I read the summary paragraph, it says leaders encourage employees to speak up by showing vulnerability. They exhibit the behavior they desire to create by displaying authenticity in their words and actions. Have you, as a leader, told your team a story about your biggest failure? And then they asked, have you shared with them your own personal fears? And much like you were saying, when a leader covers up their flaws and doesn't disclose their mistakes, it teaches their team to do the same. So if we're doing wall sits, did you ever do wall sits to go ski before you went skiing to kind of strengthen your thighs and whatnot?
Yes, not immediately before skiing because it had the opposite effect at that point. But yes, it's a good way to prep yourself for the season.
Yes, it is. And they continue, they said, on the other hand, when a leader allows themselves to be fully exposed, it builds trust and collaboration, and it becomes easier. When employees know that they are respected and trusted, ideas, criticisms, and thoughts are shared freely and openly. So much like your thoughts of just 30 seconds ago, trust. And isn't it funny how trust and respect continues to crop up in our words with our verbs?
Good summary. Yeah.
It's pretty kind of cool. All right. So that was number two. Cool. Yes, that was number two. And I will bounce back to you. How's that?
Well, the final topic I was exploring was the other side of sharing your pain, and that is sharing joy. And I loved this one. A German study showed that, well, I'm going to pause on that one because it's really cute. But a Swedish proverb, here it is shared joy is doubled joy, shared sorrow is half a sorrow. So we talked about the sharing the sorrows with each other, but if you share your joy, it can increase your joy because joy is a choice. So the Busy Couple's Guide to Sharing Fondness and Adoration by Lisa Stern is a blog offering on Gottman.com. I've mentioned the Gottman Institute several times.
Yes, you have.
It's they call it the Love Lab. They've done tons and tons of research on what makes couples work effectively together. And so research-based tools to strengthen your bond and rediscover what is cherished in each other suggest that you as a couple do the following steps. Number one, actively look for ways to let the other person know they are important and valued. And maybe that means just a text message halfway through the day to say, thinking about you, or remembering when something big is going on in the other's day. And at the end of the day, saying, how did that go? Instead of just waiting for the other person to bring it up. Turning off the phone when you're eating with each other. That goes back to sharing a meal. And what you were saying too, which is really listen. It works in every relationship. So briefly then, the other 3 points are focusing on what you cherish in each other and sharing these thoughts regularly. So notice when someone's doing something right. They say that's a good parenting tool as well. And then say something about it in the moment. Number 3, add new rituals of connection on a regular basis to show affection. And one of the things they mentioned is the 3-second kiss. And I wanted to mention that specifically because a German study showed that men live an average of 10 years longer if they kiss for 6 seconds every morning. I don't know what the magic is about 6 seconds, but There it is, research-based technique to improve relationships and long life. And then the fourth item was carve out 20 minutes a day to speak to each other. And my husband and I love to, when he comes home at the end of the day, one of the rituals is the dog meets him at the door. So that's not about me, but the dog's great. And then we sit down if we've got time and just talk about how the day went for both of us.
Excellent.
So here, I'm going to save this for next, the magic ratio to make love last. So you go ahead with the next point you've got here.
Okay. And I'm looking at the clock. We are at 20 minutes already.
Oh,
Can you
good.
believe that? Yes.
No, and yes.
So number 3 on how to encourage employees to share more ideas, have an open door culture. And I liked that because I'm sure all of us have heard we have open door policy.
Right.
This is have an open door culture, which to me is absolutely much more it's much more inviting to have a culture as opposed to a policy, because policy, it's a rule, your door must be open. Well, no, we have a culture and it's open. And what that really means is, you can get the boss's ear anytime that is, convenient for both of you.
Yeah.
But to know that that's there, and that's very, very cool. And I'm going to run through 2 more if you don't mind.
I don't.
So number 4 was place equal value on good and bad ideas. And I thought, all right, what does that mean? So I read closely, and they talked about during brainstorming sessions that this one particular person, and his name is Matthew Podolsky, he said that he likes to start brainstorming sessions with bad ideas. Just say the stupidest thing that's on your mind. Come on, let's get this
And
out.
it's a competition.
Yes. And he says, because from there, better ideas or better thoughts are stemmed. And I thought, how cool is that? So let's just start throwing garbage out, and all of a sudden, hey, one man's garbage is another man's treasure. So somebody can take your idea that was pretty bad and say, but if we look at it this way, it could be good. And I thought, how cool is that? So number 5, offer incentives for sharing ideas. And I thought, offer incentives. Okay, here we go. We're going back to transactional kinds of leadership, where you do something and I'll give you something for that. And I thought, okay, I like the idea. However, it doesn't seem to be inviting or as inviting as the others. And as I read, I thought, okay, it's all right. And what they were really looking at is they're saying diversity of thought and inclusion of ideas rather than only those of senior leadership.
Okay.
Are the ones that can create a space for a company to thrive. And I thought, okay, all right. So that means that it's not just the big guys and ladies who can say ideas, it's other individuals, and they can give them reward by saying, hey, thank you, that's a good idea. Or the next one, number 6, show them that their ideas actually make a difference. And I thought, there it is. Therein lies the secret. And how many of us have ever seen our thoughts put into play and you didn't think the boss was listening, and all of a sudden here they're doing what you had recommended, and you get the credit for that, and you go, wow, that's kind of neat. So it continues to open you up to want to share more, which is our verb for today, share. So nice. I will not go to number 7 or number 8. I will defer to you, and I will come back to 7 and 8 later. All right.
Okay, well, I want to tell you about the magic ratio to make love last.
Oh, okay.
For every negative interaction you have in a conflict, there should be 5 or more positive interactions. Now, a positive interaction is to laugh together, to hold hands, to accept the other's perspective, even if you don't agree with it. To apologize, can be a tough one, to look for areas that you do agree on. So, maybe you both hate this show or that show, but you both like watching television.
Okay.
That's that example. To compliment the small things. And they said do small things often, and to be interested in each other. So it doesn't have to be dramatic, large gestures of positivity or affection, but the small things do matter. So In fact, there's a quote here by Evan Spiegel, and I'll tell you who he is in a minute. There's real value in sharing moments that don't live forever. And I
Hmm.
thought, wow, that is profound. And then I realized he's the founder of Snapchat. I thought, well, maybe it's not so profound. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, Evan.
You gave it to us and then you took it away.
So go ahead and finish your points here, Wayne.
Okay. That's number 7 is ask for feedback during employee reviews. And I thought that's kind of cool. And I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon there. At the end of every semester, when I was teaching,
Mm-hmm.
I would always ask my students, just like everyone else, there's always the university's survey that they want us to employ.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, okay, here's the survey. And yes, it's going to ask for good things and other stuff. I said, please tell me where I could be better.
Ah,
I said, I'm going to read those more interestingly than I would all those things that you might say, oh, enjoyed the class, enjoyed this. Tell me what can be. And here's a quick story because we're at 26 minutes.
okay.
Um, I did that at the end of class. And as always, and some of the feedback I got was, oh, we need to have, you should have much more of practices of this, or we should be doing role playing a lot more, and we should be reading these kinds of things and whatever. And so I said, okay. And so the next semester, I employed many of those,
Mm-hmm.
and I had some of my some of my students that I had before. They were in this class as well, and one of them said, hey, Wayne, we're looking at the syllabus and there's a lot more stuff that you want us to read. And I said, well, yeah, that was a suggestion from our students from last semester. And, and, and one of the students said, yeah, but we didn't mean for us.
That says volumes, doesn't it?
And number 8 was to offer various platforms for sharing. So I like that. So not just one. Don't just have a brainstorming session. Have other things that you can do to get those ideas out there. And I will stop there. 27 minutes.
Okay.
What do you
Trivia
have?
questions.
Okay, trivia questions. Yes,
All right.
ladies first.
What was the number one shared recipe on foodnetwork.com? Cinnamon baked French toast.
No kidding.
Made me hungry when I read that.
Okay. And my trivia question is, what is on the other side of the thin line of sharing successes?
Mhm.
It's bragging.
Oh.
So
Okay.
we have to be very careful, right?
Yes, we do.
Yes. All right. And with that, I will turn it over to you, my friend.
Well, I loved how we heard a lot. You mentioned trust and respect in all of these techniques and ways to share and to help each other out. And I thank you for that as a final notice. And I love how share is such a great word in making our world a more positive place. So thank you for listening. Thank you, Wayne, for doing this with me.
And thank you, Sheila, for sharing your time with me and our listeners as well. Thanks, everyone. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Sheila.
Thanks, Wayne.